People thought we were totally crazy, but that was our way. And the word spread that, like, this was a good show.
Paul McCartney away!
Well, it wasn't bad.
Oh, yeah! Yes! See you next time!
Second time round.
Morgan, good morning.
Hi, I love your background there.
Oh, thank you so much. I am so excited to talk to you today. You know, when I was 8 years old, this 1974, my mom took my party to see a double feature of the Beatles. We saw Hard Day's Night and Help, and even gave us a little Apple record. And I was a Beatles fan from that moment on. But I always would cry in the record store because, you know, when they looked over the edge of the
Yeah.
but I turned the record over and saw what they look like today, and you know, I was so upset because they weren't the clean-cut Beatles, you know. But I quickly saved my allowance and discovered Wings, you know. So I mean, Band on the Run is like my anthem of my childhood. So to see this documentary following the first decade of Paul's solo career, would this have been impossible to do without Paul's cooperation? Because I know you had incredible access to Paul McCartney.
Yeah, it would have been just because, if nothing else, you need the music, you know. So, you know, the Paul controls the music. But, you know, I also wouldn't want to do it without his cooperation because what I was interested in is trying to get into Paul's inner monologue about this time. You know, I spent many hours interviewing Paul over many months and trying to get him not to just talk about what each album was, but really to talk about the emotional journey he was on through this time, because this is really the most important decade of Paul's career in many ways. It's the one where he has to answer big questions. It's the one where he says in the film, where I had to figure out how to grow up.
If I hear someone damning Paul McCartney, I tend to agree with them. So when everyone was saying I broke up the Beatles, and I was just overbearing and all of that, I kind of bought into it. I thought that's, you know, the kind of bastard I am. It leaves you in this kind of no man's land. But the truth, John had come in one day and said he was leaving the Beatles. He said, it's kind of exciting. It's like telling someone you want a divorce.
You deal with how Paul McCartney's wife, you know, Linda, fans were not kind, his fractured relationship with John Lennon. So there was some serious issues that you confronted him with. And I think, you know, being his age and where he is, I think he was ready to tell that story, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely went to places he's never gone before, told stories he's never told before. And so I do think you just get a much deeper sense of Paul, because you hear his insecurities, you hear his competitiveness, you know, you hear these sides that, you know, he often hides, I guess.
But it's funny, you think, oh, it's so easy, they run off and live happily ever after. Cinderella and the Prince. You know, it's not that easy. He said, I've got this farm, I know you won't like it, but it was so beautiful up there. Way at the end of nowhere. Civilization dropped away.
Well, you have incredible access to photos, to footage, to music. And I love to ask documentary filmmakers, what was that one moment for you in this entire production where it was a certain photo or footage or maybe an answer from Paul that you went to yourself, that was my aha moment and made the whole documentary worthwhile?
I mean,
I know there's a lot.
well, there are all these small moments of little nuggets of gold you find, you know, a photograph where, you know, he told this story that he's never told before about almost drowning in Hawaii, which is incredible. And then going through all the home movies, there's footage where you see exactly where it happened. You even see for a moment a bandage on his leg. So things like that were like, oh, you know, that's incredible. You know, just these stories that you think everything has been told about Paul McCartney, but you realize, in fact, there was so much that hadn't been said.
I remember I was in Abbey Road one day. Paul was in number 2, listening to the records, so I popped my head in there. And he sort of gestured, you know, come in, and I stood there and I listened to this song. I said, who have you got playing on that? And he said, oh, I did it all myself. And it's like, what?
Baby, I'm amazed the way you love me all the time. And maybe I'm afraid of the way I love you.
It's not that I have any doubts about loving you, but conversation in my head is more intense. I'm mixing in fear of being a grown-up.
I'm just amazed at his age. He's still doing stadium tours. He was just here in Las Vegas a few months ago at Allegiant Stadium, 65,000 people, sold out. So the man's staying power is still going strong. And I think what's really freaking me out today is I'm 1 degree away from Paul McCartney. So if I needed to say hello, I'm sure you could arrange that. Like, do you have a Batman hotline to him?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get him on the phone.
Morgan, this is an incredible experience. And as a Beatles fan, as a Paul McCartney fan, this is the greatest love letter you could give to fans. I saw your passion. Thank you so much, and good luck with the movie. And come visit us in Vegas soon. We'd love to have you.
Absolutely. Great talking to you.